Okay, welcome to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. Today we're going to talk about the emotional guidance scale. I have no idea what this is about, so Jen, it's up to you to lead us into this.
So I want you to think about this or imagine this. Have you ever woken up and felt just a little bit off? Have you?
Absolutely.
Okay. And maybe anxious, maybe frustrated, or just kind of flat. I certainly have, for
Okay.
sure. You wake up, you don't even know why. So, Esther Hicks, who's a great teacher in this material of the law of attraction, manifestation, some might say she was the founder, although it goes way back further than her, but she kind of made it mainstream. Esther would tell you that you're not broken, that you're not flat, that the world's not falling. It's just that you're sitting somewhere on this emotional guidance system or scale. And the good news is you don't have to stay there.
But wait. So there's actually a scale for emotions, like a mood ladder or something?
It's exactly what it's like, a mood ladder. So I want everybody, if you have time and if you can, at some point I want you to Google, I'm giving all credit to Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks. Google the emotional guidance scale by Esther Hicks and you will see what looks like a helix. Or the one I'm looking at looks like a helix or a chromosome thread. And at the bottom, you'll see red, like alarm bells going off. You'll see red, red, red. And those emotions are the really low vibing lack emotions. And then at the top, you'll see purple. And yes, this kind of looks like the chakras in the body, right? There's no mistaking here. But
Okay.
the purple at the top is love, passion, happiness, basically freedom.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there is literally a roadmap of every single vibe that you've got going. So at the top, you've got joy, love, empowerment, freedom. At the bottom, you've got fear, grief, despair, powerlessness, and
Okay.
everything else in between.
Okay.
Okay. So just the quick and dirty here is the trick is not to jump from despair to joy in one leap. Like you can't
Okay.
get out of bed and feel flat and then go to elation, but just by reaching for the very next better feeling thought will help you move up this scale.
Okay, but people have been mapping emotions forever, and psychology's got all kinds of different charts. So, what's different about this one?
The difference is that this isn't just about understanding emotions, okay? It's about using them as guidance to get you what you want in life. So think of your emotions as an internal GPS system. We've talked about this before in the podcast. When you feel good, you're aligned with what source and with source wants for you. And you're moving towards what you want. So when you feel good, the hummingbirds are coming, all the good things, the love, the health, the wealth, it's all coming to you when you feel good. But when you feel bad, you're in resistance, which means you're pushing the things away that you say you want. And Esther calls this your built in navigation system.
Okay, so I mean, that sounds lovely, but if somebody is in grief or anxiety, and when they're told, oh, just feel better or pull up your socks might be something, just sort of get out of it, snap out of it. How do you magically climb from what I'm seeing, the kind of red, horrible stuff, all the way up to the top?
Well, you don't. Exactly. You don't. And that's the brilliance of this scale. You don't need to leap for joy. You just reach for the next rung. So, for example, if you're in despair, anger is probably the next best step, which sounds crazy. But if you're feeling despair and desperation, if you can move to anger, you're actually moving up the scale.
Okay.
It has more energy. And from anger, you might move to frustration instead of being so angry about the thing. Can you just say to yourself, it's frustrating me? Again, you're moving up the scale and then eventually into hopefulness. And then you step by step by step. So it's not one giant leap, it's incremental bits of feeling better.
Okay, so one of the things as I'm looking at this chart that I find really interesting is that I find that a lot of people can't really name more than five emotions. Like I'm happy, I'm mad, I'm jealous, um, I'm hopeful, right? A lot of people will just go, well, I'm just angry, but maybe you're not angry, right? Maybe you're
Yeah.
worried. or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And what I find really interesting about this is anger is sitting there, for example, in the red, at 17 out of 22, but overwhelmed or disappointed is more at 11 or 12.
Yeah, it's a big
So,
difference, right?
yeah, if you can name what you're feeling a little bit more clearly, then to me it seems like moving up the ladder and going from overwhelmed to impatient or irritated and then up to a little bit pessimistic, then that might help you along the way. But my experience is that a lot of folks are very limited in expressing a precise feeling. How do you get through that piece?
I think that just to keep this simple for us beginners, I think it's enough just right now to say anger. You can see where anger sits on that scale. And, we can't reproduce this because of copyright issues, but if everyone could go find the Esther Hicks emotional guidance system, you'll be able to follow along with us. If you can even say anger, or we all know worry, we all know doubt. There's a few in here that we really know well. If you
Yeah.
can grab the ones you know, you'll still be able to see how far down you are on that vibing scale. And the whole point here is not to change it, but to recognize how far away from the thing you say you actually want is. So, for example, let's say you've just broken up with your boyfriend and you're down here in maybe jealousy. Maybe you hate him because he dumped you. If you can realize that if you actually want love, look how far away love and jealousy are. They're so far away.
Yeah.
How can anyone be loved when they're sitting in jealousy? So
That's like 20 rungs on the ladder away.
exactly. And so what I love about this is, psychiatrists would say to you, "Can you name the feeling and just sit with it?" Well, great. Yeah, naming the feeling is part of what everybody talks about. But what I love about this is try to name the feeling, but don't just sit in that. Recognize where you are in relation to what you think and you say you want. And that's how powerful this is. Because if anything's going to shift you, will that not, like, I walk around with this all day and go, "Oh, Jennifer, you're in jealousy. Get out of it."
Yeah. But that goes back to what you said prior, which is just take a step towards what you want. Like you've got to be in action to go to where you want to go. And even if it's a baby step in action.
100%. And so maybe the action, or the what I call the micro inspired action, is just stop. I call it stopping, pausing, and asking. Stop what you're
Okay.
doing, pause for a minute, and ask yourself, what is this emotion? Am I able to move up one iota from worry into doubt? Or
Right.
just even recognizing this emotion is getting me nowhere. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go pet my cats. I'm going to go watch my hummingbirds because that will help me shift out of that bad vibe emotion.
Okay. So can you give me a few real life examples of how that might have happened?
Totally. So I think I've used this example before, but it still comes back to me when we came home from our big RV trip in the spring and we had Tupperware bins that we had emptied out of the truck. Like, we were on a massive camping trip. I had Tupperware bins all over the dining room and I knew we were entertaining 2 days later. And I looked at all these Tupperware bins and I started to go into, overwhelmed for sure. I was overwhelmed. How was I going to clean all this up by myself? By myself is the key. How was I going to clean it up by myself? And then I just started to go into blame, like, "You're not helping me, boyfriend." And then I got into angry and I was going down the scale. Anger and hatred, and I was back to, "Here I go again," and powerlessness was where I ended up, right?
Okay.
And I was smart enough, instead of forcing myself to be positive, I went for a drive. I took myself out of the environment, I stopped, I paused, and I went out for a drive. And in the drive, I asked myself, "Do you have to do all this by yourself, Jennifer, right now?" The answer was no. "Is it true you have to do all of this by yourself?" The answer was, "I don't know, because I haven't asked." Right?
Right.
And so just by asking myself these tiny little questions, I realized I was making a lot of assumptions about the situation. And the end of the story is I went home. And by the time I got home, my boyfriend met me at the door and said, "Jen, how are we going to tackle this project of putting away?"
Yeah.
And by that point, now I'm into, oh my God, I love you. Like relief. I was in relief. I was in happiness. I was in optimism. I was in hopefulness. I was content. And I knew, and I was going right back up the scale again, like
Yeah.
within a matter of a half an hour.
So one of the things that you're saying that I find really interesting was when you're off on that drive and maybe you had a moment of this of, what a it's so frustrating and this person isn't doing this and that person, like you really moved away from looking outward to the other and inward to what am I doing? What didn't I ask? What haven't I observed or requested or wanted? It's a very different shift from blame and putting it on someone else and going to yourself and going, hang on, I didn't even ask the question and I'm already giving answers to someone who hasn't even heard the question yet.
Exactly. And I mean, that's what we talk about doing the work and growth. Like, I believe I have grown a lot instead of constantly pointing the finger that I was always the victim and somebody else was always letting me down to now saying, and sometimes you're going to ask the question and you're still going to get hit with a brick wall. And I've been there too. And sometimes you just have to say, this isn't good for me anymore. But
Right.
but you're right. Like, it's all about awareness. Like, we are walking around in this world pointing the finger at everybody. And you know that saying, when you're pointing the finger at someone, there's three pointing back at you. It's
Right.
always our work.
Hmm.
And climbing the scale, sorry, just to finish that off, climbing the scale is your work.
Okay. So for me, if I'm in frustration, sometimes I'll vent, which might include swearing in the car.
Yep.
That to me sometimes feels like I'm moving energy too.
Yeah.
So does that venting also make sense in terms of counting, climbing up that scale? Does the venting help?
Totally, because you need to do whatever you need to do in your arsenal, your tool kit to help you move up that scale. And if venting for 10 minutes helps you feel better, it's all about feeling better. It's all about moving up that scale. The feels, I hate that saying, the feels, but they matter. They're running the show. The feelings are running the show. And so if venting helps you to feel better, vent away, but don't stay there forever. That's the key.
Yeah, dark chocolate also helps.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, so if we're going to give people the punchline, if I'm listening to this and I'm stuck in worry, what do I do?
Well, I think, those three keywords: stop, pause, and ask. Like, what is going on with me? And recognizing you don't need to get up to love, which is the number one place. That song, All You Need Is Love. I'm afraid that's what's going on here. You don't need to get to love immediately. So what's the next best feeling thought that you can reach for? And that's it. So
Mhm.
even a tiny shift in language or a tiny shift in self-talk is moving you up the scale. And the higher you go, the closer you are attracting what you want.
Finding really interesting about this discussion is that we work so hard often to convince somebody else about our position. And if we think about where we're sitting in our position on this scale, and we're trying to either pull someone up or down,
Yep.
we're also expecting that other person to go up or down a heck of a lot of levels at once. And maybe, and this is going to be my optimist side, if we're trying to pull somebody up, we have a little grace and we help them up one rung at a time, not five.
And maybe it's not your job to help them at all, right?
Yeah.
So this is an inside job. And I'll give you an example. There's a situation going on in my life right now where there's a lot of scorekeeping going on. There's a lot of, you said this, you did that, I feel bad, you did that, I said this. And this has been going back and forth now for months. And I made a decision for myself, not trying to change the other person or help them move up that scale at all anymore. That's their work, it's their life. And if they want to keep continuing to attract the things at that lower vibe scale,
Right.
and maybe that's part two of this podcast. How is this attached to everything I want in my life? Because it is. I can't help you move up from powerlessness if you want to stay there, but I can live in love.
Right.
And so from now on, my decision going forward is I'm going to act the way I would have acted. I'm going to do the things that I would have done. I'm going to show up the way I want to show up as part of this relationship because it's my choice to live in love and passion and happiness. And if you want to stay down in jealousy and anger and revenge, that is your choice. But I don't have to go down there with you.
Right. And maybe that's the difference that I was looking for. Rather than pulling somebody up or down, is
Yeah,
deciding wherever you are, you want to make the choice about where you want to go. It's all on you.
totally.
And whether or not that person chooses to follow you,
Yeah,
it's not in your power.
right. Exactly. It's
Interesting.
absolutely, I find this such a powerful concept for so many things in life,
Yeah. Yeah.
like relationships, love, and manifestation. As I said, I go around with it like I should tattoo it on the inside of my arm. If there was any ever to be a tattoo.
Okay, so give us a little bit, relate this back for a moment around manifestation. And maybe, as you said, we'll do a part two around this, but maybe just give us a little teaser in terms of what to expect.
Totally. All the things you want in life, the love romance, the partnership, the companionship, the perfect romantic relationship, the wealth, the health, getting rid of the tumor, getting rid of the cancer, getting rid of the autoimmune disease, repairing relationships, getting a renovation on your house, buying a new car, whatever those desires are, they're all hanging out up here with love and passion and happiness.
Yeah,
And if you're spending your life in revenge and blame and powerlessness, that's why nothing good ever happens to you because they're not aligned. They're not at the same magnetic frequency. This is all
right,
energy.
right. So I think part of what I'm hearing from you as well is that whole Neville Goddard piece, which it is done. So
Yeah.
passion and enthusiasm and happiness exists.
Yeah.
It's at the top of that ladder. It is done.
It's done.
One just has to make the decision to climb up towards it. Is that what
You
I'm hearing?
absolutely nailed it. Like, we're done. Mic drop. That's it.
Okay, still the skeptic.
Yeah, I know. And that's fine. But like you've just said it, your emotions are not random. They are your built in compass. And if you can think about it as that GPS system in your car when you put destination cancer free and you're hanging out in blame, your GPS is going, Jennifer. Esther talks about this all the time. You are off the route. You're off the route of the thing you said you wanted. You want to be cancer free, but you're hanging out in blame. You're off the route.
Mhm.
You're going this way. Cancer's up here. Cancer free's up here. You got to shift emotion. It's an emotional guidance system. It will always guide you. And if you can learn to read this, you'll always know whether you're headed towards alignment, in other words, the thing you say you want, or resistance, which is pushing it further away.
So, for the skeptics out there, even if you don't believe in vibration, it's still, I think, a useful mental health tool. It's basically, in some respects, a bit of emotional triage. So, again, it's not forcing yourself into fake positivity, but it's really one step at a time. Just, one more step, one more step. What's the next manageable step?
Yes. And for those of you that want to talk in God talk, God is at the absolute ultimate top of this scale in love. And the further down you are, the further you are away from God. And so the closer you can come in to source, to inner being, to God, whatever you want to call, to the creator of all things, when you're further away from it, her, him, they, you are further away from everything.
Okay, that's great, Jen. So it's one step at a time, folks, from a low vibration to a higher vibration and just moving ourselves emotionally one step at a time. Thank you very much. And that's it for Manifest This Believer versus Skeptic. We're going to have a part two on this because I think it's really interesting and we can align this in different ways for you in the very near future. Thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you next week. Bye for now.